The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Attention Ditto Heads. Attention Bo Scouts.
Goes by the pseudonym Bo Snerdley.
It's time for the Soul of Excellence.
He is a radio host here in New York.
The Rush Hour is on the air.
Rush.
Now here's James Golden.
Look at these videos coming out of places like Chicago. It makes me incredibly nervous that we're about to see people in law enforcement, people in uniform military get nervous, get stressed, shoot at American civilians. It is a very, very stressful situation for these law enforcement and for the communities on the ground. So it was basically a warning to say, like, if you're asked to do something, particularly against American citizens.
That voice, ladies and gentlemen, was one of the people that are being called the seditious six. Senator Elisa Slotkin, last Sunday on ABC's This Week, suggestion that law enforcement would begin shooting American citizens, one of the reasons that they released the orders. That has not happened. Instead, what has happened is that law enforcement, the National Guard, has been attacked today. This is Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour, fastest hour in American media, and we start off sadly today. Two of the National Guardsmen that were shot this afternoon, we got word of it, have passed away. They've died. Two West Virginia National Guard members shot today near the White House have died, said West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrisey. He confirmed their deaths in a social media post. There is a suspect in custody who was also shot, has injuries that are not believed to be life-threatening. A source reports one National Guard member was shot in the head. According to a person familiar with the details of the incident who spoke to AP, the Associated Press, on condition of anonymity. The President of the United States has released a statement that the animal who shot the guardsman will pay a steep price. God bless our great National Guard and all of our military and law enforcement. These are truly great people, the President wrote. The National Guard have been in Washington, D.C. since August, when Donald Trump issued an emergency order that federalized the local police force and sent the Guard troops in from 8 states and from the District of Columbia. The order expired, but the troops have remained, and that has been to the consternation of some Democrats. I want to be responsible and not say things that are inflammatory. Despite the anger that many of you and I, and feeling of utter frustration at the way that law enforcement in this country has been treated by the Democrat Party. There are videos on social media today of St. Paul, Minnesota, near riot breaking out, people standing in front of ice trucks. They had to use tear gas, pepper, and spray. And in some cases, there was a woman with a cane standing in front of a truck, and she was removed by force, and protesters got angry with that. We have seen people jailed now for threatening to kill ICE agents, threatening to kill law enforcement. We have also seen in the past few months the mayor of Chicago urge people to, quote-unquote, protect their land and to make inflammatory statements that could be construed as there's no other way to say it. It could be construed as to perhaps take matters into their own hands. There are other ways to say it, actually. So we don't know a lot of the details surrounding this. There was one report, and I did not confirm it, came from the news agency, so I'm not going to say it until I can confirm it, that this was an ambush. The National Guardsman involved shooting in D.C. was an ambush attack, is what I'm reading. I cannot say for certainty that that was the case, but I'm sure by the end of the day, more details will emerge. What we do know is this. The Democrat Party has been relentless, and their allies in the legacy mainstream media have been relentless in portraying ICE and Border Patrol, and to a lesser degree the National Guard, as a force against good, when in fact they are the opposite. There have been story after story. In fact, there are stories today about how how ICE is tearing apart families, which is the common refrain, unjustly. How people that are innocent are being kidnapped. You've seen all of this. You heard all of it. These are the things that are now being shouted in the streets for enforcing the law. The same Democrats that have riled people up into fits of anger are quiet when American citizens are subject to law enforcement. They don't claim that people are being kidnapped when police make an arrest of criminals and separate them from their families. When people, criminals, are apprehended, none of these same charges are leveled. But because we're talking about illegal immigration, for the most part, everything has risen. The other issue that comes up, especially in Memphis, in places like Charlotte, Memphis, is that somehow there's a racial component, which I find not only to be offensive, it is without question evil, because what the claim is that when law enforcement goes into cities like Washington, D.C., where the National Guard was helping to restore some level of safety, when they go into places like Charlotte, when they go in places like Los Angeles, the Democrat Party has made a point of saying this is racial, black and brown people. They never talk about the impact that black and brown criminals have made in making the black and brown people who live in these cities' lives totally hell and miserable. Never is that discussed. They never talk about the fact that black children can't play and brown children in their own neighborhoods and have a normal childhood. They never talk about the failures of big Democrat Party institutions like the teachers' unions and their impact on the poor education that continues generation after generation after generation in these black and brown communities. No, it's just racist to finally try and bring some law, some calm, some peace into these neighborhoods. James Golden, Snerdley, pre-Thanksgiving. Keep it right here. Do not go away.
Rush. This is the Rush Hour with James Golden.
Oh, Snerdley.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network. If you're looking to create, grow, and sustain your wealth, download and subscribe to the Pain Points of Wealth podcast at BeBullish.com with Bob, Ryan, and Chris Payne. It's your podcast for market insights, money tips, and real talk on the economy.
Download and subscribe
at BeBullish.com.
James Golden, known popularly as Bo Snerdley.
This is The Rush Hour with James Golden.
Rush.
Here's how to respond to the stupid things that your liberal family members say this Thanksgiving. We really shouldn't celebrate a holiday rooted in colonial violence. Well, Thanksgiving isn't a celebration of violence, it's a celebration of gratitude, which has been twisted by activists who need outrage in order to stay relevant. We're not going to rewrite American traditions because a handful of chronically offended people are running out of ways to play the victim. No human being is illegal. We shouldn't even have ICE. It's cruel. No, what's cruel is pretending that a country can survive without enforcing its own laws. Every single nation on earth has borders and immigration rules. The U.S. is no exception. The cost of Thanksgiving dinner this year is so much higher thanks to Trump. You should probably fact check before repeating whatever CNN fed you. Wells Fargo's own analysis shows that the cost of a 10-person Thanksgiving meal is down like 3% from last year, and Walmart's numbers back it up. So yeah, go ahead and thank President Trump for this year's prices. Well, I have nothing to be thankful for this year because women have fewer rights now than they did a decade ago. Opportunity, education, and economic freedom have never been higher for women in America. Women aren't losing rights. You're just angry that the left can't use abortion as a shield for every political argument anymore. This is why we need socialism. I mean, I wish that Zohran Mamdani were mayor of my town. No, you don't, Becky. I doubt that you could name your current mayor, let alone 3 members of your city council. Socialism destroys every place that it touches, without exception. It doesn't create fairness. It creates equal misery. If you want government control of everything so bad, then you are free to move somewhere that has already tried it and it failed.
Heavenly birthday today for Bob Babbitt. 1937, he was born, Hungarian-American bassist. Famous for his work with the Motown studio band, the Funk Brothers. On so many records, including this one, War, Edwin Starr, Tears of a Clown, Mercy, Mercy Me. Inner City Blues on the Marvin Gaye, What's Going On album. Just My Imagination, The Temptations, and so many more. Bob Babbitt, who passed away in 2012. Remembered here, heavenly birthday today. Also, John McVie from Fleetwood Mac. We went in with Dreams. Birthday today. James Golden, Snerdley with you here. Thank you, Princess Diana. The CBS story says this. It is a CBS story that federal officials have said D.C. National Guardsman shooting was an ambush attack. Federal law enforcement sources say, and that is from CBS. We will have to wait and see more information. So we'll keep you updated as we have more information. There is, folks, the rhetoric coming from Democrats has consistently from this administration ratcheted things up. I'm not going to say that that's what is responsible for today's ambush, as it is being reported of National Guardsmen yet. We will have more information. But you heard Elizabeth Slotkin in the Sedition 6 claiming that law enforcement was going to begin shooting American citizens. You heard that. Play that again, please, Carlos, the one that we opened up with. Make sure that we have this right. This was Sunday. This is what Elisa Slotkin, one of the Sedition 6, said on her appearance on ABC Sunday News show.
Look at these videos coming out of places like Chicago. It makes me incredibly nervous that we're about to see people in law enforcement, people in uniform military get nervous, get stressed, shoot at American civilians. It is a very, very stressful situation for these law enforcement and for the communities on the ground. So it was basically a warning to say, like, if you're asked to do something, particularly against American citizens.
We are about to see law enforcement and people in uniform shoot American citizens. She made that claim. Today, 2 Americans in uniform were shot dead. Cut 1, Scott Jennings, CNN.
The FBI is now seeking interviews with the Democratic lawmakers who said to the military, if there is an illegal order, don't follow it. Aren't folks in the military not supposed to follow illegal orders?
So this is an issue where obviously you're going to have 2 groups of people that see this completely differently. I mean, when I saw that video, I was outraged for the president because it's obvious what the Democrats were trying to do. They were trying to create a narrative that the president had, in fact, given illegal orders. Nobody's yet named an illegal order. All the people in the video went on TV and got asked, what are the illegal orders? None of them can name an illegal order. Alessa Slotkin, who's supposed to be the moderate and the smart person in that group, said, well, you know, we have this movie, A Few Good Men. I mean, it was so unserious, but the point was clear. They're trying to program their political party, half the country, into believing that the president has given an illegal order, which has not happened. And so he's outraged. Every Republican that I know is outraged. The legalities of this, the investigatory part of this, I'm less sure about. But I'll tell you this, it's not good to treat the military like pawns. These Democrats shut down the government 43 days and didn't pay them. And now they're out here using them in this illegal order video, which is obviously political. I think some people, you know, in our coalition are thinking they keep treating the military like pawns. It's very disrespectful to treat the military this way.
It is very disrespectful to treat the military in this way. It is also disrespectful to treat law enforcement the way they have been treated, like they are the enemy of the American people. You see it playing out in the streets across this nation, where they are simply trying to do their job and their lives are threatened. And today, 2 members of the West Virginia National Guard paid the highest price they can pay for their service. Their lives were taken from them. It is disgraceful. When we get back, my friends, Thanksgiving weekend is upon us, and joining us will be our very own historian, Dean Karagiannis, and we'll explore Thanksgiving. Don't go away.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
James Golden, known popularly as Bo Snerdley.
This is The Rush Hour with James Golden.
Rush. I hate being in my 20s. I hate going to work. I don't want a job. I don't want to work. I hate not working. I hate everything. I hate breathing. I hate sleeping. I hate waking up. I just hate everything. I hate our president. I hate the world. I hate people. I hate everything. I just hate everything. I hate everyone. I hate everything and I hate everyone, and I don't want to do this.
You know, my 7-year-old, newly turned 7-year-old nephew came in my office while I was playing that cut, and he looked astounded. I thought he was astounded by the language. He wasn't. He said, "Does she hate God?" And then he said, "God may punish her." And I said, "No, that's not what God is about. God loves all of his creation." But the question, does she hate God, was so profound after listening to that. James Golden, Snerdley. With us, the official historian of Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour and the Saturday Vibe, He is the head honcho of HistoryAuthor.com, one of my colleagues with the many years we spent with the Rush Limbaugh Show, where he was web producer. He is a columnist with the New York Sun. He is a columnist. You can find his work all over, and an author. He's an amazing guy. Historian and writer and producer Dean Karagiannis is with us. Welcome, Dean. How are you this afternoon?
I am good. Thanks for having me, James. And boy, I hope that the response someday for that woman can be that she feels God's love and that God finds her. I know sometimes people aren't comfortable with that, but that's what it's all about. And that's sad to hear somebody like that. I know that we tend to hear a lot of people on the right that mock each other, and not to mention people on the left, but that's a tough intro for me, so I wanted to get that out of the way and say something about her.
No, it's fine. I'm glad you did. I mean, it's profound. And the reason I play those things is so we can hear what people are thinking from across the spectrum, and I think it is sad.
Yeah, and you think of a place like Canada where they have that medical assistance in dying with that cute little acronym MAID. Somebody like that can walk in there and certainly won't be discouraged, but can end their life. And you think, I know you know this, we've been around a long time on this big blue marble, and you look back at your life and say, my worst day when I was 18, when I was 22, when I was 24, who wouldn't trade it for a bad day or even a good day when you're long in the tooth? You've had medical challenges that you fought. We both watched what Rush went through. You trade that nothing is permanent. And, you know, my wife, Kathy, and my co-author in the cookbook you were so kind to mention, Regional Greek Cooking, she says to me sometimes, get thee behind me, Satan. She said it to me today. Her dad's a pastor, by the way, or was. He's passed away. We're gone home, as they said about the Hutch. The great Ken Hutcherson, Rush's friend.
Oh, yeah.
Seahawks great. But, yeah, and I said to her, you know, I say that all the time when I'm going through trouble. I try not to blame God. I said, but I'm a little bit more profane to the devil. I don't think, you know, you don't want to curse in a prayer, but I say to him something that starts with an F and something that rhymes with shoe to the devil, because that's where the bad things are coming from. And I think we're coming up on Thanksgiving. It's a time to be thankful and remember that's who we're being thankful to. That's who the Pilgrims were thankful to, not to the Native Americans, although there was help there. They had a great relationship despite a lot of the revisionist history. Things do change later, as we know. Not everyone gets along all the time, but it's something that I think that leads into that clip of just somebody literally professing their hate. It's a terrible thing to hear somebody say, and I just hope that she can find some help. And I think that everyone out there, if they're of the praying sort, prays for her to find somebody who, you know, to just have a revelation and not let everything get you so down, because the older you get, there's more things to get you down. Don't let it get you down.
Amen to that. And one of the things you mentioned, Rush, here, and one of the reasons, the reason I asked you to come on is, I remember the first year I did this show, I read straight from Rush's book, his story of of Thanksgiving, the real Thanksgiving story. And you and I have talked about it in subsequent years, and I've done it. But today I want you to just give everybody the synopsis. I think, Dean, you know, Rush, 30 years trying to encapsulate all the great things that he did on the air is impossible. But if there's one thing that I know he had, and there were many, but one thing for sure I know impacted, and the impact still lives on, is that he was the first national broadcaster to actually tell the American people the true story of Thanksgiving. And now you see that story being repeated in so many different places by so many different people, not only broadcasters, but people from a lot of different walks of life. And I wanted to remember Rush doing that, to say how impactful it is, and to have you as our official historian this year instead of me, walking people through that amazing story that Rush Limbaugh told.
Well, I've written about some of this at nyson.com. People can go find it and see the way that, just in my small way, you do it on the radio. I try to have it be in writing and to put forth Rush's legacy, all the things we taught, and not because it's anything in a partisan manner. Rush didn't tell this story to own the libs, as a lot of people say, or to get clicks. He told this story because for people like that young woman that you started this segment with, who are so in despair, who feel alone, who think nobody's ever had it as bad. And we're all prone to depression and feeling bad and thinking it's hard. Little stories like the ones that Rush tells there, the ones he told at the Donner Party. How many times did he mention Donner Party? And they had to resort to cannibalism. And the only thing they wrote in their diary was it was a particularly cold winter. And the story of the Mayflower is a story not of those beautiful pictures. That people arrive after the Mayflower Compact is signed, after they arrive, the second wave of migrants, dare we call them, of immigrants, and they're shocked that these people are almost naked. They're in rags. They're suffering from disease and death. And my column last year at the New York Sun was called How a Girl Named Remember, she was born on the ship, she was 5 on the ship. There were 2 or 3 children born on the Mayflower. Imagine, you're being basically cargo under there. Age 5, and her fellow pilgrims endured the crossing of the North Atlantic to reach America. And this is something I learned from Russ. Just look at these people. They're not just names. You look at William Bradford, and what did he write in his diary? And thank God he kept a diary with more details than the Donner Party. And they didn't have much more to eat than the Donner Party, of course. The things that they brought with them, the food, I would encourage you to go back and you can read that column at nysun.com, but find it anywhere. I don't want to sound like I'm just plugging myself. It's just because I'm passionate about that story. Another one was about capitalism paving the way for them. And that's what this was a story of. And not because, like, people that are advocates of communism, they want to control and they want to perfect humanity. They have this God complex. But because we know that this is the best system, is capitalism. And that's what the Pilgrims learned. They tried in the beginning, as Rush would tell year after year, to have everyone have an equal share, to have everybody work for everybody else, equal plot of land. And what happened? What always happens with communism and socialism is young men, that was the William Bradford quote, he felt, why should we tarry? They thought it an injustice that they should tarry for the wives and children of other men. So since they were getting the same share anyway, they would just lounge around there, which is something considering there were no bars, no football, nothing they could do. But still, they wouldn't work. And it wasn't until William Bradford decided, we're going to try something completely different. We're going to give everybody a little plot of land, let them raise what they want on it, let them have the profits from what they sell. And this is when they began to be able to trade with the Native Americans, and because they had a surplus. That's what it made. That's what all those hands working, because you say, hey, if I get up out of bed this morning, go plant some more crops, go weed my garden, I'm going to get more vegetables, and maybe I can sell some to Johnson across the street. He's crazy for broccoli. I'll sell him some broccoli, and he'll trade me one of his cows, or maybe his daughter. This was the custom at the time. So that's the story in a nutshell, and I think that maybe people can hear me lighting up about it, or maybe when they read my words about it, I hopefully bring it to life, because it is such an amazing story. You look at the Pilgrims and you say, boy, the buckled shoes, which they didn't have, and the hats, by the way, which they didn't have. You say it must have been pretty easy, and then you are negative with them. People think, well, they're the harbingers of genocide. They weren't the first arrivals, for one thing. They did have very good local relations with the native people, but it reminds you that they were just like us. They had times in the belly of that ship where it breaks apart, it cracks the main beam in it, and they thought, this is it, it's over, we're dead, I hate this. And don't think that even though they were religious pilgrims, they didn't cry out to God and say, what's up, we're going on this horrible trip in this ship that was never meant to go to sea, just so we can praise your name and worship the way that we feel called to, that you would want. Where are you helping us, God? This really stinks. But they didn't lose that faith, and they still had learning to do when they got here, and they evolved, to use the popular word. And I think when we condemn people, when we aren't thankful enough, we don't work on ourselves, we forget that we all have that capacity. We may say or do or believe something today that we say the next day, gosh, I wish I hadn't said, done, or believed that. You kind of repudiate it. And that's the human story. That's the story of Thanksgiving. And that's what they give thanks for, is that after all of those trials and tribulations, and there were so many of them, all that death, the starving, the scurvy, everything was wet. The clothes were wet all the time. Forget about having a bathroom. Forget about a Lido deck. There was no Julie up there from Love Boat or, Go for Your Purser. It was a hard trip. They were shipped not like cattle, but with the cattle and pigs and sheep. They had a little less than the size of a grave plot there for each passenger. There's no privacy at all. They went through all of that, and I think that's why I love history. That's why I like to look back. It reminds me, if I'm a little bit upset that my Wi-Fi goes down, if I have trials and tribulations, or I don't like who the president is, I don't want that to affect me. I'm thankful that I live in this time. I don't have to get on a rickety ship. I have liberty and freedom in America, and I have that, and I have all that plenty, by the way, because of what the Pilgrims learned and wrote down. And just for the sake of telling the story accurately, I'm really appreciative that you keep the true story of Thanksgiving alive, because it's not to give a bias. Like, I know this current Ken Burns documentary is causing a lot of people to complain. And, I didn't like his last one because guess what? He wrote the freedmen out of the story about Gettysburg. That probably wasn't his last. But in order for him to tell the story of Gettysburg and all this reconciliation and the handshakes, what did he have to do? He had to ignore the plight of Black Americans at the hands of Jim Crow and a lot of those.
Well, Ken Burns, I don't even want to get into the whole Ken Burns thing. I just wanted to, because that's a whole discussion that, believe me, one day I can't wait to have, especially about some of the other documentaries that have left people out that didn't make for the good story. But this story of Thanksgiving that Rush brought out, I think, is so important. And I wish that it became the institutional story that is taught in schools. I know some schools have adopted it because it is factual. It is based on the history of what actually happened. It's not the feel-good stories. The Pilgrims failed, the Indians saved them, and they were so thankful to the Indians they sat down for a meal with them. That's not what happened here. But at any rate, Dean, it is a remarkable story. And I thank you for spending the time with us to share those memories of it. Where, again, can people find you, Dean?
They can find me at historyauthor.com, my columns at nysun.com most frequently, and you can find me on X at historydean, because I'm not going to make anyone spell Karagiannis.
Dean, thank you so much for joining us. I just want to, again, give thanks for our time that we spent with Rush. It was monumental, and all of us in the Rush alumni will never forget the times that we spent there, the times that we spent with each other, and the good that came out that is still living through that experience of being with the great Rush Limbaugh.
Amen to that, I will say. And also thanks for the audience, all the people we still hear from who enabled us to have the greatest jobs in the world. We are thankful to all of you. We really appreciate it.
Amen to that, Dean. Boom. James Golden, Snerdley. Thank you, Dean. Dean Karagiannis, historyauthor.com, our official historian here at Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. James Golden, Snerdley, pre-Thanksgiving. Keep it right here. Do not go away.
Rush. This is the Rush Hour with James Golden.
Bo Snerdley.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
It's the Rush Hour with James Golden.
Goes by the pseudonym Bo Snerdley.
Rush.
Now, here's James Golden. Breaking news.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us Red Apple Media News Director James Flippin with more on the story of the two National Guardsmen that were shot this afternoon. Good afternoon, James.
Hey, good afternoon, Bo. So, yeah, in essence, this is a shooting that happened in downtown D.C. at the corner of 17th and I Street near Farragut Square in the nation's capital. The White House briefly went on lockdown, but President Trump, we know, is in Florida. Vice President J.D. Vance is not in the capital either. Now, the twist within the last hour or so, Bo, was that West Virginia Governor Pat Morrisey came out and said, sadly, he can confirm that these National Guard members who are from West Virginia had died. Since then, that statement was actually retracted by the governor, who said, we have received conflicting reports. We just had about a half-hour press conference from Washington, D.C. officials, including Mayor Muriel Bowser and also FBI Director Kash Patel was there, saying right now both National Guard members are being treated in the hospital in critical condition. So the initial report that they had died, not true as of this time. The mayor of D.C., Muriel Bowser, saying this was a targeted shooting. We've seen photos from overhead cameras, maybe people up in office towers taking photos of the scene. A suspect who was taken into custody strapped to a gurney while naked with a long black beard. But we don't know anything about the motive other than the fact that police and the mayor of D.C. have said this was a targeted shooting. I also heard one of the cops talking about the shooter coming around the corner and opening fire at the National Guard members who were apparently armed, and fire was returned. The suspect in this case was wounded. So that's the latest that we know. In essence, the big headline, Bo, was Patrick Morrisey, the governor of West Virginia, said that the 2 Guard members had died. As of now, we're actually hearing they're still being treated at the hospital in D.C.
That is a heck of a great story so far for those people praying and hoping that somehow the worst has not happened. This is just great news, hopefully. And we don't know, of course, what's going to happen. Being shot in the head, of course, is what we heard. At least one member was shot in the head, so we don't know how it has to be a serious injury. But hopefully, then this at least provides a ray of hope.
Yeah, hoping for a Thanksgiving miracle, Bo.
Thank you, James Flippin. Thank you for coming on and telling us that news.
You got it, my friend.
Thank you. There are prayers up already. Please, God, give us a miracle. We got to go. I'm off tomorrow, folks. May God bless, protect each and every single one of you, your families, your loved ones. Love and gratitude for you being here with me, allowing me to be with you. God willing, I will be back Friday. Happy Thanksgiving, and praying for our National Guardsmen and all of our troops and law enforcement in harm's way. God bless you.
Thanks for listening to Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. You can hear Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour weekdays at 4 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?